The Packers are playoff bound. Welcome to this review of Week 15 of the NFL season. And yes, the Green Bay Packers are headed to the postseason. The playoff spot for the Packers was clinched during the first quarter of our game. The wild and wacky outing between the Carolina Panthers and the New York Giants saw the Giants attempt to come back and actually tie the game. They were down by a lot, but they came back and tied the game. It's actually the third time this season that Carolina has actually blown a big lead late, but they've survived in the final seconds, and that's exactly what happened on Sunday. They won with a last-second field goal. So that last-second field goal gave the Giants the L, and that Giants loss, coupled with the Buccaneers' loss on Thursday, put the Packers in the playoffs. Of course, even if all that didn't happen, all we had to do was win and in, and we ended up beating the Raiders anyway. But we got in during the first quarter. So the Packers are headed to the playoffs. Now we just need to #own the North, like we've done the past 4 seasons. The Packers can actually clinch the NFC North this upcoming Sunday. All you have to do is beat Arizona, and the Giants need to beat the Vikings. The game against Arizona is pretty important because the first round bye is still in play. And even though we're 2 games behind Arizona with 2 to go, this head-to-head game is an open door. Because if we win that, that's a tiebreaker. That is a tiebreaker. At the moment, it's a 2-game deficit. If we win against Arizona, we're virtually tied, even though we're 1 game behind. We'll be 1 game behind Arizona, but we'll have that game. We'll have that win, so it's virtually a tie. That means the Packers and Cardinals can end up tied in the standings, but that game will be the difference, and will give us a 1-week vacation while Arizona has to play on Wild Card Weekend. Speaking of Arizona actually clinched the NFC West with their win over the Eagles on Sunday Night Football. The NFC picture is just so clear. 4 of the 6 spots are clinched. The South and West are locked up. The North can be locked up on Sunday. Even the dismal East can be locked up on Saturday. Washington is in first place by themselves. They were the only team that won in that division. The Giants lost. The Eagles got killed, and Dallas got put out of misery on Saturday. Their loss eliminated them. So Washington's in first place by themselves, and they have a head-to-head game against Philly. So all Washington has to do, they win, they get the East. That's it. Even the last spot in the NFC is simple. All Minnesota has to do is win, they get that spot. Yuck. Even if Seattle wins, Minnesota gets a spot because that'll eliminate Atlanta. Atlanta is somehow alive, but it requires them winning out and Seattle, Minnesota losing out, and they'll get in the playoffs and be listed on top of them. Top of those 2 teams due to the whole strength of victory jazz. Strength of victory, that's one of the NFL's 500,000 internal tiebreakers. But meanwhile, the AFC, there's still too much open in the AFC. Denver is still not clinched a playoff spot. How's that possible? Denver has fallen off. Ever since that big win against New England on November 29th, they've lost 2 of their 3 games that they've played, including losing at home to Oakland. They just choked against Pittsburgh on Sunday. Now there's an outside chance that Denver could actually miss the playoffs. but I think it requires like losing out, the Jets and other teams winning out, and a bunch of tiebreakers, and that just makes my head explode. I'm not even gonna try to figure that out. Um, but Denver is in serious, serious trouble here. However, they are somehow still alive for home field. Here's how it goes. Here's how it goes in the top of the AFC. New England's 12-2, Cincinnati's 11-3, and Denver's 10-4. Denver has Cincinnati on Monday, so Denver wins that game. That Denver wins that game. That puts them in a tie with Cincinnati, and they have the edge. So it's basically a 2-game swing. They'll go from down 1 in the standings to virtually up 1. The tie plus that head-to-head win. That's the beauty of football. If this happens, Denver can get the first round bye by just beating San Diego next week. I mean, the final week. And if New England somehow loses out and all of that, then Denver will actually get the home field in the conference because they'll have beaten New England and Cincy. So that's where those main tiebreakers come to play. That number one tiebreaker is head to head, and you can't get any better than head to head. You gotta, if you beat a team and you're tied with them, you got that bragging right. It's beautiful. It's the best thing in the world. That's why it's number one on that long list of 500,000 NFL tiebreakers they have. But yeah, and they need to win because if Cincinnati beats Denver, that's the first round bye right there, and Denver will have some more problems. The problem there is Kansas City. They've won 8 straight. That's why Denver hasn't clinched as much of a playoff spot. Kansas City's won 8 straight. Pittsburgh and the Jets keep winning. So they need to win. They need to win at least 1 or 2 games, and they need a lot of help. Otherwise, that team could go from high up in the conference to being on a fishing boat in January, and that's just dreadful. Speaking of dreadful, let's talk about the AFC South. What? I mean, Jacksonville at 5-9, they're still alive. They are the worst team that is still alive. At 5-9, they're still breathing. Houston took control of the division when they beat Indy, so they're in first place by themselves. Whoever thought that would happen? We have Houston and Washington, the 2 biggest train wrecks entering the season, and they're both leading their divisions. It's amazing. But so Houston can actually clinch the division Sunday. It will be easier if they win and the Colts lose. Even if both teams win straight to victory, there's that phrase again, that has to come into play, and that involves certain teams they play winning, certain teams the other team plays losing. It's a mess. These internal tiebreakers, but they just need Indy to get beat, and Indy's playing Miami, so I don't know. So how can Jacksonville win the division? Well, even if these 3, well, here's how the standings go. Houston's 7-7, Indy's 6-8, and Jacksonville's 5-9. Even if all 3 teams end up 7-9, Jacksonville doesn't win the division. That division would go to Indy, because Indy will clinch the South due to going 4-2 in divisional play, which would be the best over Houston and Jacksonville. So Indy and Houston both have to lose out, and Jacksonville has to win out. This means that Jacksonville and Houston could beat for the division. We could see 3 division title games to end the season. One for the AFC South, Houston, Jacksonville. One from the NFC East, Philly, the Giants. And God forbid, one in our division, Packers, Vikings. That cannot happen. Packers have needed the last week, the last 2 years to win the North. We need a week off. Hell, we need 2 weeks off, but we need 1 week to breathe. We need to get this division on week 16. So when we play the Vikings, it's basically practice, possibly in case, because there's a good chance the game against the Vikings could be the first of back-to-back weeks against the Vikings at Lambeau. And that's if the first round bye thing doesn't work out. We could be facing them 2 weeks in a row in Lambeau. So week 17 could be practice for wild card weekend. Who knows? That's the beauty of football. So those are the crazy scenarios entering week 16. It's the home stretch, the final 2 weeks. I love this part of the season. Everything happens. Teams strive and heads get locked off. So the week 16 actually begins with a very meaningless game. Chargers and Raiders. Both teams are eliminated, but I guess the only meaning in this is, well, the Raiders could be saying goodbye to Oakland again, as they could be one of two teams that could be moving to LA. The rumor is Raiders, Rams, Chargers. 2 of those 3 teams could be headed to LA. And San Diego's last home game, I think that was their last home game, was played on Sunday, and the Chargers got this big ovation as they could be possibly saying goodbye to the team. San Diego could be possibly saying goodbye to the team. And this whole NFL and LA thing, I have to see it to believe it. But that whole thing, that's the only bit of significance in this Thursday game. Other than that, it's just a meaningless game between 2 AFC West teams. Neither of them were going anywhere. When Oakland lost to Green Bay, that put them out. But I'll say this for the Raiders: they did have a good season. They really did. They went 6-8. The worst they could do is 8-8. That's a huge tread in their cap to finish 500, considering they're this crazy train wreck of a team. And they finished 500. They could end up finishing better than the AFC South and NFC East winners. So, like I said, Chargers Raiders. That's on Thursday. Washington Philly. That's a much better game, much more important. That's a Saturday game. The Sunday night game is Giants and Vikings. That's important to both teams involved, and also to the Packers, who need the Giants to beat them. And the Monday nighter, the last Monday night game of the season, the important game between the Bengals and Broncos, first round bye up for grabs. Cincinnati could get it, or they may have to win again to fight for it. So that is my review of Week 15. We are now in the home stretch. Enjoy the ride. I know I will.